So I will stop it and share it and relaunch it again for you guys. So I'm gonna ask again, and maybe more students will be answering it. Okay, maybe end of the class, we will ask again the same question. Hi, class. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So just gonna be putting the cameras on. Okay. Well, good afternoon. And I hope everybody is fresh and ready for the class. I just had a coffee and now I'm having a tea. So tea and coffee, I don't know how much is gonna hit each other, but I hope they're okay. So we will try this class to see how we will finish chapter 4, hopefully. And then we will do some exercise. I'll break the class into groups and we will do exercise, and we will do also poll. We'll share the poll with you guys. Now, I'm just gonna start a very quick video. So all the students will be joining if anybody is late. Just bear with me.
Subaru of Indiana Automotive, Subaru's only U.S.-based auto plant, builds the Tribeca and the low-emissions Legacy and Outback vehicles. It's the greenest auto plant in the country, and the only one whose pristine grounds have been designated a wildlife habitat.
Okay. This is probably, we'll do it end of the class. We'll do another one. Just bear with me a second.
Once an order is placed, the pieces needed to satisfy that order make their way to the assembly department. The assemblers have a schedule file with 2 order sections, an ASAP section and a ship dated section. Task Force Tips shoots to satisfy all orders within 2 weeks. Anything beyond 2 weeks is considered late. Once assembled, products are sent to the testing area. All of Task Force Tips' world-class nozzles are test sprayed in a test keg.
Cheryl then she'll make sure that it shuts on and off and there's no issues there. She will also check the flow and make sure that there's no leaks. And that's the end of the process. If the nozzle passes, then she marks it passed. If the nozzle were to fail, then she marks it with a red tag and she puts in an instruction on why the nozzle failed.
Products that pass testing are ready to be shipped.
First thing the shipper has to do is receive the parts. If they go to receive the parts and the parts weren't tested as properly to the specifications, it won't let them receive the parts. If everything was tested properly, it'll let them receive them into the system, and then they'll be packaged and assigned to the customer's order. When everything is assigned and packaged, it goes on to the other shipper, and she will actually get all the different boxes for a given order together and get it ready to go out to the customer. At that time, she prints the invoice, and then that's the time the accounting department will know that that order is going out the door and it's okay to invoice to the customer at that point.
The first thing we're going to do is go into the receiving program. All our product comes in with a coil, a colored coil. This one is just a generic, just a regular green one that's okay for shipment. My employee number, and then I scan the tag. And this identifies what order, what the product name is, and it's a ship dated order. And then what will happen is the system's going to see that I have this nozzle, and it's going to go ahead and put it to an order. And then when the order's ready to go, it'll come up automatically in this program that it's ready to ship. It'll print up here. This is what we call a picking ticket. And what this does, it shows everything about the order, the ship via, any special threads, any special shipments. Okay, so what we'll do then is we'll take this product, and this is our packer. It's this area. Then here we have to scan. On here you can see the 3D barcode. That's what we scan to get the model number, and then that serial number. And then right here it will call out for a poly pack. That will have the manual and the warranty card, and then what size box we pack it in. So I take the LAN 100, scan the warranty card so it attaches it to that order. Yes. And then what I need to do is go into a different program to confirm that this is specifically for this order. Everything is serialized in here. We'll have it, the beginning of the serial number will have a letter, and then it will have the 6 digits. We do have some products that do not have serial numbers, so we make our own generic serial numbers to go out. So everything is accompanied with serial number. And then we will go ahead and go down here to our packing station. We'll stack all these products on a cart, and then this cart full of product, because we have so much to ship, will go back to our shipper. And she handles all the UPS processing, all the freight, everything overseas too. And this displays everything on the order as well, where it's going to the fire department, any information. It's going to go UPS ground, their purchase order number. Everything looks good on here compared to here. And what we're going to do at this point, we're going to go ahead, we don't have anything to back order, so we're going to go ahead and bill all items and hit number 1. This is the packing slip that accompanies every shipment. Every shipment gets one. This basically explains the same thing that was on the original picking ticket. So we just fold that up. Place this on the box. This is the UPS label that goes on all the product. The tracking number if we need to track it from, to, and everything. And this just gets moved over here to a cart. And then what will happen is these carts will be pushed down to the UPS store and they'll pick these up. But every night before we leave for the day, we have to run a UPS manifest, which this is a copy of what it looks like. There'll be a ticket that goes with those carts, and then there'll be just a breakdown manifest. They call the UPS manifest. It's just a breakdown of each packet we ship, how much it costs, how much it weighed. And we use this for reference.
The system automatically lets the accounting department know that the order has been shipped, and it is okay to bill the customer. And thus ends the process. The average Task Force Tips product goes through this process in just 6.7 days.
To use an analogy, it's basically NASCAR. The cars pull into the pit stalls, they already have the lug nuts glued to the rims, they have everything in place. You get 4 tires, a full tank of fuel, a wedge change in 14 seconds. This is our pit stop. This is our pit crew to save time out here.
Hi class. Let me share the pool again with you, and please answer it, because now is a full class we have. And let's see, I'm gonna relaunch it. Please answer these. So the question says, are you a user of Padlet and Yammer and Facebook? The 3 together. Okay, it's anonymous. I wouldn't know who is answering what, so feel free to be very transparent here. Okay, so we do have around 64% who is, the number keep changing, but I would say there is a 50%, 50-50 regard of this user, the 3 of the products applications. I'll give you another 3 seconds to answer. Okay, so I'm ending this pool. I will share it with you. Okay, so we have 50-50 of the classes using the 3 things together. Now, I will launch another one, and please see if you are here is or. So the question is one of these, and please answer it. Okay. Now, so far, it is anonymous also. So, so far is like almost 50% of the class voted. I need you guys to vote it as soon as possible so we can move on with the class. I probably will stop it in 10 seconds. Please, anybody who didn't answer this poll, stop voting. Okay. So as you see, all of us are using of one of these three solutions. Now, if I'm adding Moodles, which is the college, that probably would be 100% saying yes to it. So now let's do okay. Welcome back to the class, and I hope you are having so far you had a good weekend. And let's start right away with today class, and then hopefully later on we can see how the things is move accordingly, because we're gonna do some meetings, to break rooms, and start talking to each others and see taking it from there. Now, today we're gonna start chapter 4. As we said, we'll leave chapter 3 maybe later on when it's see it's necessary. So I will use so basically we will be talking about the strategic capacities management, and this class, and hopefully it's a short chapter, but it is condensed one, very important chapter. So please pay very good attention to it. And we would probably take some break in the middle of the class. Okay, so today we will be learning about the capacity, explain what's capacity management, and why important for this, strategically important. And also we will be talking about some examples, and we will be evaluating a decision tree, very beautiful approach for capacity management and future expansion. There is an applications for it, but it's important that you know how to use it. And we will be comparing capacity planning versus manufacturing. Now, please, if you have any question, feel free to ask me, write it down. So I'll be glad to answer it. Basically, capacity is ability to hold, receive, store, or accommodate in general. That's what it's mean. In a business, means the view of amount of output that the system is capable of achieving over a specific time of period. So how much is output is there. Now, in the service, it's a different than manufacturing. In the service, usually is it is how many customer you can serve. Yet in the manufacturing, it is about the unit output. So how many kilograms you can produce, how many boxes you can do. It's a unit base. And capacity management is considered, has two things in it. You need to consider the input and the output. And we will be talking about it more in the later in the chapter. Now, The capacity planning time duration, we have a 3 different time durations. The long range, which is anything greater than 1 year. Intermediate range, it is between, it's 18 months, but within that 18 months, it's divided on a monthly or a quarterly plans. It covers between 6 to 18 months. So a large plan is a 1 year, a full 1 year. So from now to end of the year, next year, how much we can do that. But in the intermediate one is like a monthly and quarterly, but covers 6 to 8 months. And the short range is the less than a month or a month. Now, the whole goal is the fact that finding the overall capacity level of capital intensive resource, it has a 3 term that you need to look at it, is the fact that the facilities, do we have a places to do that, to accommodate the capacities, the equipment, and the labor force. That these are 3 things that it needs to be taken into consideration. And the best approach, because sometimes you're talking about capacity, and you might be for the short term, you can produce 100% of your product, but that might cause a breakdown or more problems, or not able to continue of going on. So the best approach is that you do a capacity utilization rate, and to understand how much we are utilizing the plant, the machines, or the manpower. And the way we do it is currently what we are producing, so the capacity used, and what is the best operation level. And the best operation level is, it's different from one industry to another industry, and it's different from a service oriented to the product oriented. Plus, it's different on different type of industries, whether it's an emergency room, or it's a walk-in clinic, or it's a mobile shop. That's in the service. In the products, whether it is shipped within the region or worldwide. So you need to calculate the best operation level, and then you see how much you are capacity using from that, and then accordingly you can define your capacity utilization. Are you overutilized or underutilized these things? Now, there is something called economies of scale, or economy of scale, is the fact that all of us, we know about it. The more we produce, the cost per unit goes down. But at one point, the more we produce, the cost per unit goes up. And why is that? Because if you're producing 50 units, cost per unit, say $1, but if you're producing 100 units, cost per unit becomes $0.50. Now, if your capacity only 100, and then you're producing 200, you're gonna have a breakage in the machineries, more consumptions of you need to fix, employees overtime payment, and so many things. So the cost per unit start going up again. So that's what we call this economies of a scale. So this is why it's good to look at the capacity utilization rate also. Now, there is a capacity planning concept. There is two concepts there. One is a capacity focus, and the idea that the product you focus on a certain product and you don't start changing it. So that will be easier for you to keep on producing. And there is another option is every unit is focused on certain thing, certain production, which is called a plant within a plant. So you're not looking at other plant within the unit. You're focusing on that, or the whole organization is concentrating on one product. Now, the other capacity flexibility when you do a planning is then when you look at the plant itself, how fast you can switch off the plant and produce something else. Now, through this video that we saw, we don't know how fast they can switch to another things that they suppose, like a hose, for example, or producing other plastic products. We don't know how fast that they can do. So this comes in the part of the plan. What if the demand for these are reduced in the market, and you don't enough sales? How quick you can switch? We notice, for example, Nokia being are so good in doing the plan, the process for such thing. Now, it's also you need to look at the workers, how quickly you can adjust them to adopt a new strategy. So this is the whole picture of the capacity flexibilities, is that how fast you can change the plan, how fast you can change the process, and how smooth you can have your core workers to change their task. For example, it's a crucial in high-end services in a hospital, in a surgeon room, that the workers, the employees, doctors, nurses, everybody's there, are able to switch positions within the work. On other hand, and it is crucial in high-end services like consultancy, IT services, that one person should be able to do project planning, in the same time product management and consulting. So that shows the flexibility in the organization, especially when they are smaller case. So flexibility process and workers are and plan in the flexibility is very much taken into consideration for building a strategy. So in general, I'm sorry, can you mute your I'm just going to keep muting. So it's basically there is a flexibility in a plant, the ability to quickly adapt to change. And it costs you or nothing or zero time to do this change in the plant. The process is a different thing. So you're still doing the same product, but your ability to, for example, move the process easily set up. So I'm sorry, but I can see who is unmuting, and others is disrupting you're disrupting the others. So it's okay. Please don't. I'll give you enough time that you can talk to each other and play them background music. And the flexibility of the workers, how much is multi-skills your workers, or ability to understand or do a new task. And this is also important for you to estimate for the organization. Please let me know, write to me if you have any questions. Now, when you do a consideration to change capacity, there is a few things that you need to take into consideration. Maintaining system balance. Whether you are able to you do a same level of capacity at each operation or desire. So when you're switching, can you produce the same level, or whether you might have increase or decrease? Let me say, give it an example, and we will do this example. You produce two type of soap. One is a bottle and one is a package. And the bottle is, maybe you can, if it's all bottles, you will be producing 100. And if it's all package, you will be producing, say, another, for the example, another 100. But if you're switching all bottles, you will be ending up with 150 instead of 150. So you need to see the similar capacity, whether you are, when you're switching everything to that different kind, whether is really you are producing the same thing. And also, you need to look at how you're going to manage the bottleneck operation. And we always, when we go work in an organization, we're always going to run to a bottleneck, a place where things slows down. And we need to focus on that, how we can work it out. And the reason might be, we need to find out the reason why there is a bottleneck. And you notice in a bottle is a regular bottle, but in the end there is a thin thing. So when you pour it, it goes according to the thin part of it. So that's what you call a bottleneck. So if you're producing 100 units, but the end result is a 20 unit, so it's going through a bottleneck, and only whatever is there is coming out. So you need to see why there is the system is holding up the thing, and how we can smooth it up. Maybe we need to build more a plant within these plants, or have more manpower, or get more machine in that case. Now, we will talk the frequency of the capacity for addition. Now, how frequent we can upgrade, and how frequent we are not upgrading. And why is that? When we do a very frequent upgrading, it means that we are doing it very quickly and costing us so much money. But if we are not doing it according to the desire, and we're doing it frequently, it means that we are bought over things, bought so many things, more plants, we hired lots of people, and we were waiting 3 years for that. And that's a waste of time and money, and eventually the resource for it. So there is two things that you need to balance, is the frequent and the infrequent. Now, the external source of capacity, how much we can outsource when there is an increase in demand for us. And if we have producing a lot, how much we can share those productions. So if I know there is people are interested in my production, and suddenly I have done, instead of producing 100, I'm producing 200, and the market only takes 100, I have one more 100 in the warehouse. Now, if I'm aware that the states needs that 100, so I can share the capacities. And in the last class, we spoke about Kanawapa project, and the whole goal is the sharing capacities. So Manitoba decided, says, when I'm producing more electricity, I can sell it to USA. And that's during the nighttime. And during the daytime, or reverse, I can buy some from USA when I'm having a shortage. But they are thinking of producing too much electricity where the Manitoba cannot consume all of it, but they said we will share the capacity with the USA through the border, and we can sell them electricity there. So this is one of the sharing capacities. Now, the decreasing capacity, whether it is temporary or permanent. So if I'm temporarily decreasing, what's causing this is the machineries. One of the machinery broke down, or this machinery just went out of date and it cannot produce and meeting the demands and the needs. So this is what we explain, what we meant. Now, if you are doing less infrequent, suddenly your volume is an increase and you cannot sell it. And the problem comes in here. So your volume increase and you don't have a buyer for it. And in the case of turbines, whenever you turn on one turbine for generating electricity, this would happen. A suddenly jump, it's happening in the frequent users. Now on this is where Manitoba was thinking to smooth up this part of it by selling excess of electricities to USA. And if you are not, if USA is not buying, then there is an infrequent expansion. You're turning on one turbine, it costs you so much money of it. So this is where important that you look at that and to take things into consideration. Now, if you, this part, if you reverse it here, then you will have a capacity shortage, and you're not doing a probably expansion on time. So this is where is the problem comes in. So you want to see how frequent you need to do and frequent capacity expansions. So to determine the capacity requirement is that you need to, first of all, use the forecasting from the marketing, from the sales department, saying, well, what time, at which date, there is that much need for it. And from there, you start from the end, from the sales and marketing to see how much they can sell. And then you calculate accordingly, and you do to calculate your labor and equipment that requirement to meet the forecast coming. Do you have enough machineries? Do you have enough manpowers to do it? Do you have enough materials to meet that sales demand? And then you manage the project labor and the equipment availability to the planning horizon. So this way you will be doing a kind of a back reverse calculation. You see the sales, you calculate according to the forecast of the sales. You do labor and equipment requirement, and then you do a project labor and equipment availability, whether you have enough or you need more, and when you're supposed to do to manage that. So there is two examples. The first we look at it is to make it easier to understand. We do have something called a company called Stewart Company produce two flavors of salads, and these two flavors, the company called Pauls and Newman, and these 2 flavor salad, one's in a bottle and another in a bag. So we need to see what's the capacity and the labor requirement for the next 5 years. So the first step, what we will do is to look at the forecast from the salespeople, how many we will sell this year, next year, the year after, for the next 5 years. So the sales department, marketing department is telling us that they will do a 60 on the first year for the bottles, which is we have 2 kinds. It's called Paul's and Newman's. And when it comes to the kind of Paul's, we have a bottles and we have plastic bags. And when it comes to the Newman's, we have a bottles and plastic bag. Now, if you go to some kind of stores where you are manufacturing, this is very obvious when it comes to, for example, sewing jeans. If you go some manufacturing where they doing jeans pants, you will see that they are sewing jeans for Calvin Klein, for sewing jeans for bench, for other kind. All they do is probably sometimes they just put the mark there, the stitch. So it says, for example, Calvin Klein's. Then the same pant, a different little bit customization, and they put it bench. So these are all produced in one manufacturing, and they just change the names of it. Here, the products is the same, but the names are different. So there is a Paul's and there is a Newman's. Paul's have bottles and plastic bags, and Newman's have bottles and plastic bags, but all produced in one manufacturing. So we get this data from the sales, how much we're going to sell first year, second year for the Paul's, and how much we are selling bottles first year, second years of Newman. In the same time, we get the data from sales, how many bags we are selling and how many we are selling the plastic bags. So this is what the sales and marketing department will give us. So then we can do a calculation. So we look at the first year, for example, and basically here we look at to calculate the equipment and labor. So that's, as we said, we go backwards. So as we said, you look at the sales, then you go doing the calculation, and then you do a project planning. Now, this in a calculation of equipment, you are already aware of that. The fact the bottles that you're going to produce is around 135, and the total plastic is a 300. So if I'm looking at this, you notice here, plastic bags is 100, and plastic bags of Newman is 200. So the total is a 300. And then you know that the fact that the bottles are 60, and bottles here for Newman's is 75. So 60 plus 75 is 135. And this is done for the whole 5 years, adding them together. Now, based on that, you do calculate the equipment that you need. So your capacity, it says that I'm producing 4,000. There's something wrong with my mouse, but that's okay. I'm producing 4,500. And operators, the machine, I need 6 of them. I have 6 of them, and in a whole year, because year 1, we calculate the first year 1, and in year 1, the capital utilization for the bottles is 135, but we are producing 400. We can do up to 450. So on the first year, what we are doing only 30% of the capacity utilization. Now, 30% of the capacity utilization, that's how much we are producing. Now, how many machines do we require? Now, what we have 3 machines, and each machine has needs 2 labors. So the 3 machines that we are producing, if 3 machine works fully, then we need each machine 2 labors. The total operator will be 6 people working there on this machine. Now that we do calculation, we say, okay, so 30% of our capacity producing, and we have 3 machines here, and these 3 machines, it means if they all work together, they work at 90%, at a 0.9% of the work. So the capacity of these machines is a 0.9 operating. Now at that time, we need to see how many manpower we need, and the calculation is for a bottle operation to produce 135 we operate the machines at 0.9%, and we need 1.8 people for using that. On the contrary, if we are talking about on a bagging operation, we can produce 1,025, and the 1,025 means that the whole year. So that will be producing, because we are doing only 300, it's 20.24% we operating. And the machineries that you need is equipment is 1.2, and labor requirement is no. I don't understand why you are putting the songs on behalf of and distracting other people's. I'm sorry, if you do it again, I have to take you out of the class. So please, if you have a question, unmute yourself. Don't play music, please. Because I can, ask you to leave the class, or I take you out of the class if you're playing the music again. So appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, so the situation is the fact that a labor requirement is the fact that you need 3.6, and how you do the calculation, because it's every machine here, you need 5 people, and there is 20 machines. Every machine, so you multiply 5 by 24%, and you get that many labors, which is a 3.6%. So here's what you do. After you check out the sales, prediction sales, you do a backward calculation. You see how much bottling you can do and how much operation you will need. The total is the project equipment and labor availabilities. So you will be basically, you have on a first year, you have a 30% capacity utilized. On the second year, 20. Where we got this 30%? We got it from here. This is the 30%. And the machineries, machine equipment, you need a 9%. So 3 multiply the 3 machines, 9%. I need you after this class, you go and double check this assignment, so we can discuss it more on a coming class. And this is how you do a project equipment and a planning. So you have a calculation for the first year. You know exactly how many bottles you're producing and how many plastic you're producing. And the percentage requirement for the bottles is at the 30%. Next year, 40, 54, 66, and 77. And the machinery that you are utilizing, the level of the machineries that you are utilizing, it keeps on the first year you're using whatever your machines that you have is a 0.9% of it, 0.9. So you're not even using a full capacity of one machine, but you are dividing it on a 3. So each machine will be working at 30%. Accordingly, when a machine working at 30%, you need 1. I'm sorry, at 9%, you need 1.8 labors to work in. So this is how it works year calculation. As I said, you do a background calculation for it. Now, there was another way, another thing that we spoke about it is to make a decision. And to make a decision, you probably need to do a tree, something called a tree decisions. And in a tree decision is you make the capacity analysis. Now, a decision tree is a systematic approach model, which is, I will show it to you how it works. And there is now more applications that are using that, but you need to know how to use this application and what's the concept behind this application. So you work again backwards. So you have, for example, an option of expanding your plant, or you stay as it is, or you make another plant in a different city. So you take the result and then you evaluate them on a backward to make that decision, which one is more fully useful for the organization, fully utilized. Decision trees help to analyze, understand the problem, and assist you to identify what's the best solution. So there is 3 things you need to know about it. Is decision node, which is I will show you, and it's represented by a square. And then chance node, where you will see it is represented by a circle, and the path, how you make that decision accordingly. Now, we will introduce the case, and then we will explain it, the answers after the break. Now, you got the owner of a computer called Hackers Computers is evaluating. There is a 3 options they have in mind. The first option is they need to make a decision, and they are expecting whether the 3 options is the fact that should they expand within the plant, or should they have separate plant somewhere else, or should they not do anything within that, should not they do anything. There is 2 options, whether they next year they're not going to do anything, or the next year they will expand within the same plant. So there is a 3 general options, and the first one is the fact that do they need to expand, or do they need to move to another plant, or do nothing and wait until next year and do more expansion. Now, the strong growth probability, they saw it like a 55%, and the lower growth is a 45%. Now, the decision process include these assumptions. Strong growth, 55. New site cost, if they're expanding, is at 2,100. And the payoff is 1950 if there is a strong growth, and a small payoff if it's shorter growth. Now, if they expand on the current site, as we said, is as 87% either by first year or the next year. And the strong, they would be making 190,000. It's a little bit, this is why I need you to keep looking at this to understand the differences between whether I'm building a new plant, expanding with my plant, and do nothing, and within one or do nothing, whether I'm gonna next year do nothing or expand on a next year. So this is where you need to look at it. And in general, it says move to a new location, a strong growth in 5 years. This is the amount that I'm making. This is my cost, and this is the value I'm gonna receive. Move to the new location. If there is a weak growth, this is the amount I'm making because as we said 45%. And this is my cost similar because I'm moving to a new location. It doesn't change. And this is the value I'm gonna make, $365,000. Now, so this is when I'm moving. If I'm expanding within my organization with my plant, I will be making same revenue, and but the growth is less, and I will be making my cost is similar usually always because expanding in both cases, whether I have a weak or a strong, it's the same thing. Now the point that you want you to consider more is the third one, which is saying, okay, do nothing now, and if there is a strong growth, and do nothing now, and there is a weak growth, or do nothing now and expand next year. And because the first do nothing now, so the cost is zeros, and do nothing now and expand next year is cost 87 of the next year. And all these dollars values, we needed to use what do you call net present value to see whether these, we put them all in one basket to evaluate them in the end of the calculation. So we will take a break, and then after the break, we will come and explain how this diagram problem work accordingly. So guys, feel free to take a break, and we will be back probably 10 minutes from now, and at 2:15. Okay, now back to the example. Basically, what we said here before the break, we said there is three options. First option is to move to a new location, and the location, it will cost us 210,000. And if we have a very successful growth, our revenue will be $195,000 per year for 5 years. And if we have a weak growth, we're gonna end up with 150,000 per year over the 5 years. The cost would not change. The value that we are generating will be changing. And the same thing, this is what if we expand the store and says strong or a weak growth, it's the same thing calculation, the cost never change, but the revenue changing and the value will be increased. And the third option, whether we do nothing and wait until next year and we do expand within the same store, same location, or we don't do nothing again. So our cost does not change at all in the both cases, except the revenue that we are generating. So the diagram, to see it better, is we have to make a decision here. And the decision is, we said that move, expand, or do nothing. And here is where is the decision. It's in a square to make it. And if we move, we will be making 55% if it's a strong growth. And if it's a weak growth, 45% extra on our sales. If we expand, it's the same percentage for the simplicities, and do nothing, it's the same percentage for simplicities. Now, this is where the event where we make the events, we do these, which event we will be taking care of it. Now, as we said, it's if it's you have a strong growth, you have a revenue minus moving costs, and if you have a weak growth, it's also the same thing. But in the third situation, when we say do nothing, and we wait next year to expand, because we don't have expansion revenue minus expansion costs, because we're not doing a moving cost, we're just expanding. Or if we, on the second year comes in and we do nothing, we're going to do only a revenue. There is no expansion cost. So the numbers, here's another decision we need to make. And as I said, once we get everything clear, we make a backward decision. So the situation is like this. The payoffs, for example, we said that we look at the payoffs. What's the payoffs or the revenue that we're going to generate using revenue minus costs? What's the payoff is moving if we have a weak growth? Or what's the payoff for revenue if we're expanding next year, not this year? Or what's the payoff for this year? So here's the create the value for each branch. Now, the calculation, which is we showed you as the numbers in the previous slides, is the total is 765. So if I'm taking you back just to look at what do I mean by this is, see here, 765, the value. So that's what you call a payoff. So now this is the 765, and then each one we've done a calculation for them, the payoffs itself. So for example, 365, if we have a weak growth, and if you see it here, 365, if we have a weak growth, because what we do is the revenue that we are generating minus the cost that we're having. So here, then you have the payoffs clear for us. What's the payoffs it is for each one in each case scenario. And what we notice here, because we need to make a decision here, we notice that if we are expanding next year, we're making 843,000. And we don't expand, we are making 850,000. But before we make this decision, we need to look at the fact that what we are which one is the highest payoff. As the number shows up, that the fact if we do nothing here, we're making 850,000. But if we expanding, we're making 863,000 as a payoffs for the event. So by first look at, we will choose this one. So we will be expanding, and we're making that much if it's the growth is strong. But on the other side, you will see that if the strong is weak, we were making only 413,000. And if it's the growth is weak, we're and we're not expanding, we're still going to make 850,000. So these are the difference that we need to look at it. Now, let me see if there is a question. No, there is no question. Wonderful. So here where we make a decision, we start looking from back to the end. And it's showing us that the situation is the fact that do nothing has a higher value than expand. That's interesting. So choosing do nothing, it's a good choice, and not expanding. So we come with the first decision here that what's remaining is do nothing. So that's what we have 850,000 higher than this one, because we need to make a decision on the first spot. This is why I said we're going backward, and instead of we build everything forward, but we're going backward, and here we make the decision. So the expanding next year would not generate revenue much better. The value is not expanding is much higher. So far between these two decisions, we'll go with the 850 not expanding. But once again, we cancel this and we stay with do nothing. So now we have three decisions: moving to a new place, expanding, and do nothing at all. Now, how we calculate the value, the total value. Now the numbers you see is high growth and weak growth. And it could be when you see only high growth, you might go for, say, in the first stage, you might go of doing nothing. But if you go to the low growth, you might see something much better revenue for you. So the way you do the calculation, you do the value weight average. So we said the high growth is 55% and the low growth is a 45%. Now, we do a multiply 55% in the high growth and 45% in the low growth. And we add them, so we end up with to see the value of each decision in case of a high growth or a low growth. So the value showing that if we move, suddenly we see that we have the value is $585,000 possibilities. And if we are doing expanding, we will be making 660,500. And if we do nothing, we're going to end up with $730,000. So here from the value itself, we will be choosing which is the highest value and cancel the others. So we are canceling the move because it's the lowest values, and we have the expansion and do nothing. And looking at the do nothing and the expansion, we're also going to cancel the expansion part, and we will stick by do nothing. So the decision comes in that the fact that the value of doing nothing and keep working in the same plant and not expanding is giving us the highest value for our decision. So do nothing has the higher value than expand or move. So you're going to choose, as a hacker computer stores, they will choose the do nothing, and even next year do nothing. Because so you see the decision here, you want to make a decision. So I don't want to make 585 for the next 5 years, so I'm canceling this. I'm canceling the expansions, and because I see that the fact that I will be making by not doing an expansion and not doing a movement, I'm going to be making $730,000 extra. Now, here I will be making, I'm not going to expand, not even next year, and I will do a stick with this choice. Now, these is calculated over 5 years revenue. So 500,000 on a year fifth is not equal with the 500,000 today. So if we want to see exactly this 500,000 on today, how much is worth versus 7 or 900,000, how much is worth, we need to do what we call is a net present value. So how much it's worth today, because if we're talking 5 years from now, we are making 5 million, and today we're making 2 million. If we're looking at the interest rate that you can generate by doing nothing and putting it in bank, we're looking at the day by day, the inflation or deflation. Then we need to separate the interest rate value and the deflation value and start looking at today revenue. So after 5 years, if I'm making $500,000 and my interest rate is -5, it's not going to be a minus, but it's going to be soon minus. So I'd rather to not invest in a bank and invest in the machineries. But if there is a bank offering me 50% investment return on it, I rather not to expand on machineries, because I see that I'm not going to make 50% revenue, and I will take care of take into consideration the interest that I'm going to generate if I'm just investing my cash in a bank or in any third party, and the revenue that I'm generating if I'm investing in my corporation by expanding new machineries and all these things. The other thing that I'm looking at, whether the inflation is going to change. Now, all of us, we know, like yesterday dollar brings you more things than today dollars. And today dollars brings you more things than tomorrow dollars. So your purchase power changes with the change of the value of the dollar, whether it's going up and down. So, and the value of the dollars that today it's a very low. So our purchase power is a weaker. So we take into consideration the interest rate and the purchase power, and we move everything to the today value for it. And that's what we call net present value. So the decision is do nothing, and here's where we final calculation is done with a net present value. And the net present value you see here, what we made, $703,000. That's taken into consideration next year and the year after and the year after and 5 years from down the road. But if we moved all these values to today's values, then what we have is actually, with the today language, we are making $460,000, not 700 after 5. So the 700 after 5 years worth of 460 of this year. So the net present value is the fact that you do a calculation for each year and how much you are making that year, multiply in a bracket, which is the calculation here is a 1 plus the interest rate and the power of how many years. So this is how the $750,000 get to the today value is $460,000. Do you have any question? Okay. It is a little bit complicated, but it's important that you know these information to make a calculation and to make sure it's clear what's the decision you need to make regard of that. Now, We will probably, we're still, okay, good. We are good in time. There is two different calculation when it comes to two consideration when it comes to manufacturing capacities and service capacities. Good can be stored in manufacturing. So we can produce and have it in the warehouse. But in the service, we cannot store our service. The service has to be done on that time. So on the other hand, good can be shipped to other location, but in the service is on the same location. You cannot ship your services to somewhere else. A good example, we talk about producing tires versus and a plane services. When the plane takes off and the seat is empty, you cannot have anybody in there from outside. But when you're producing too many tires, you can store them. So this is what makes a big difference between the consideration manufacturing and services. So these are two things, three things. The demand is in manufacturing is changing of it is really high and not very much. But in service, a good example, if you go to the coffee shop in your college today, it's empty because there is nobody there. But if tomorrow the classes, live classes joins and everybody goes back to the classes, you see the coffee shop, the cafeteria suddenly gets really busy and starts selling. So the timing is really make a big difference in the service. The manufacturing, the growth, it's not much, the volatility is not different that high. So this is where is the difference between capacity utilization in manufacturing and services. The relationship between service capacities utilization and service quality also gives a more strength, more important. Now, you know, sometimes you go to a store and you have to wait half an hour. It's different than you have to wait 5 minutes. And the reason is maybe they don't have enough people to serve that everybody is coming. So you have to wait half an hour and you might be unhappy and you leave. But the other thing when it comes to the product is no, you have tires in your warehouse. The more they ask, and you can give them to them. So that the services, that's what makes it different. Now the type of the service also makes different. It's a different than I can wait half an hour in a store to buy a mobile, but I can now wait half an hour in emergency room. I might die after half an hour. So there, the capacity of utilization should be very low. In other words, if I'm willing to wait half an hour in the stores, I can now wait half an hour in the emergency room. And if you will go to walk in a clinic, they played something that gives you a feeling, a little bit more positive feeling. And as a matter of fact, because the walk-in clinic is overloaded most of the time, so they take you from the front and they put you in a room. Once you're in a room, you're probably going to wait an hour there. But the feeling that you moved from front desk, you waited half an hour in front desk, and then you go to the room and wait another half an hour, it's better than you waiting 1 hour in the front desk. This is why they have, you know, they start moving. And you notice, but after you half an hour waiting in the front desk, then you move to the room and you wait half an hour, and suddenly a nurse comes in and makes some tests for you, and you wait another half an hour. So that's giving the walk-in clinic more leverage time. In the emergencies or fire department, there is no leverage time. So they have to right away take you in, and the doctor can see you on that. And this is why they rate you when you go in. If you have a pain in the stomach, is a different than if you bleeding. Bleeding becomes a top one, so they take you right away to the doctor. If you have pain in the stomach, they make you sit there in the front, and then you move in to the small room waiting for the doctor. Then the nurse shows up, and then this is the procedure is done. So um, this is where you do the optimal utilization as a specific contest. So the situation is like this, is the fact that the mean arrival, how many people in 1 hour, for example, are coming, and how many service providers are there, and how what's an average. So if it takes 10 minutes to provide the service and you have 10 people, that each one will take 10 minutes, you do the calculation accordingly. So you want to make sure that doesn't exceed the mean services, and you keep it in the blue zone where you are not fully utilized. You are fully utilized up to 70%. The more you go up, the more people are coming, the more you are in a situation of the critical situation, between 70 to 80% fully utilizing your service providers. And the more you go up more than 100%, here's what is the long hours of waiting, and you don't want to wait long hours, so you take your business somewhere else. And this is where they don't want to be in that situation. So this is the calculation when it comes to the service, because it's a perishable good. The productions is not a perishable good. So here the situation, as I said, when the arrival exceed the service, many customers never served and they leave. In this case, you are in a service quality declining, and you are in a critical zone, and you're not providing a good service. So when you go to a customer service, he talks to you, but he's looking after on the person after you, and this is where you feel you are invisible, and you're not going to be happy with the situation. Meanwhile, if you are in this zone, you will see the customer service provider will pay you good attention and help you, and you walk out very happy with the service they are providing to you. So the timing in the service, how long and how many service provider versus how many people walking in, is a very crucial calculation. Now, I'm gonna create rooms. Keep in mind, I left all the announcement in the end. I need you start utilizing these applications, the collaboration application. The collaborations means an application that you, let's say in a real life, you had a classes and there is meetings happening between you students outside the class or before I start the classes, or when I say go and do your project, you go to a coffee shop in or a cafeteria, 4 of you or 5 of you talking about how we're going to do a group project. This is a collaboration when we are one-to-one on a group. But if we go in virtually, the tools that I created for you, pay on a Yammer, on a Padlet, these will be used for creating groups and then meeting each other and sharing thought. These are what you call a collaboration tools. Now, what I will do, I will stop sharing this because now we finished chapter 4, and I will create rooms. These rooms, I need you to meet each other. Now, these rooms also, it's not your groups, because already I've noticed that none of you guys have really told me who's your group. So I will create these, not the groups. I will put you in the different classes just to talk about the questions that I'm going to send to you, announce, and you talk about themselves. And then when you create your group, I want you to, your assignment will be telling me what these applications can do for you and what your a group project is going to be. So bear with me. Um, Okay. Now I'm kind of putting. Please, when I'm creating these rooms, you go in each room, and I will be broadcasting the questions.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
The day before, I think before 2 weeks,
Okay.
you create a room and we make already groups. We are 6 members in each group, so
Yes. Here, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna different groups, and you talk among yourself, and you take the information and utilize it within your own group.
okay, the other one that we make for the assignments.
Exactly. Just share thoughts, and I will send you the broadcast of these questions, and these will be part of your proposal for the final project. Okay? Okay. So I'm creating all the rooms, and I will be broadcasting the questions that you need to put in your proposal also. So you need to join. Anybody who's not joined, I will not, okay. Now, first question. These 3 questions will be part of your proposal assignment next week. These 3 questions will be part of your proposal. Oops. I'm sorry, I have to write it again. Your assignment or your group assignment will have 2 parts. First, proposal, assignment, and these 3 questions. Due date. Due date next week. minutes to explain how, okay, later, to explain how we will assign. Okay. Okay. Now, I guess we're all back. Here's what I wanted to do, and I want answer for all the class together. And please, here's what I'm expecting from you. First of all, you next week you already set up your assignments. You already have your group set up. You know all your group. If you're not sure about your whole group, you go to the Padlet and you announce. You're saying I am part of which group, or anybody who is less than five, less than five as a group needs to make an announcement. I need one person to be in this group. So anybody who is free then can join in. This is announcements happening on Padlet. So you set up your group. Once it becomes 5 to 6 people, you send it to me and says, this is my final group. Now, next week, there will be an assignment. The assignment has two parts. The first part, I want you to look at these 3 questions that I sent to you, Padlet, Yammer, and Facebook, and see what things are there and how you can utilize them toward building your project, your final project group. Join me. I already sent you these links for these 3. You can go there and start looking at them. So you need to join me in order to look at them. And also you need to join me in Padlet in order to find out who is your team members. And there is always an announcement there. If you still cannot find out, you go to the elder class, the previous class, where I updated these classes, uploaded it to a Google videos, and you can check there how you can join Padlet, Yammer, and the Facebook that I created for you guys. Beside, we need to be very active in in Moodles, which is school is provided. Yammer also the school is provided for you indirectly through your utilizing your Microsoft license. So you need two-part next week to mail to me. First, these solutions that I sent to you and how you're going to use them, okay? And the second part that I need you to see, send me the team and what's your final project is going to be. Is it supply, are you going to do supply chain management about which company you're going to look at it, or which service you're going to look at it, and you're going to analyze it and give me the final proposal. But here I need you as a group decide, are you going to do service, or you're going to do a project, manufacturing, and which company in manufacturing you're going to do, or which service you're going to do in a project. This is for your group thing. Now, there was few projects is going to come before that, which is I will tell you about it 1 week earlier. This last announcement that I'm going to make is there is a quiz. We'll be covering chapter 1, 2, and 4 next week. It will be a very short quiz. It will be talking about more discussion questions. People who took some courses, taking courses with me, fully aware of how easy is this quiz would be. It's just we need to continue with our course. Now, let me know if you have any question. Please speak to me and let me know.
Professor,
Yes, sir.
can we make a group of 6 people?
Maximum 6.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
We didn't get the questions that you post because in rooms they were not showing. That's
Oh,
why.
I see. The question is 3 questions.
Mhm.
What's a Yammer all about, and how you can utilize it for your.
Okay.
What's a Facebook all about, and how you can utilize it for your project, and
Okay.
what's a Padlet, and how you can utilize it. These are
Okay.
3 questions. Beside that, I want you to write down your group and the proposal about which projects you're going to do. Maybe you should decide to work in analyzing the manufacturing or analyzing the services. And also, I will write that in on the form of Moodles of our school. So you will be also getting these information. Now, anybody who is a little bit confused about it is always, he can go back to the classes. It's published on YouTube and look at them.
Sir,
And we have to make it on Word.
Yes.
Okay.
sir, can you
Yes.
post this? Can you post these questions and assignment on e-learning, please?
Yes, that's what when I say Moodles means e-learning.
But I'm not able to see anything on Moodles from the starting day.
Yeah, nothing is showing there. That's why.
Well, what you don't receive forms just today. It's been upgraded. It's done already, so you can see it maybe tomorrow. You can see it on the form. Anyway, there will be an email sent to all of you, telling you this is being published, and go see it. And if you cannot see it, you talk to the technical guys of the college and solve the problem. But I think it's been upgraded, and you can see it now.
I'm already opened it, but it's not showing any lesson, any
Yes,
PPT, nothing. Yeah.
you're right. It is only today. I
Okay.
will, yeah. And tonight, I will send you the email after I make an announcement on the form, showing that you will receive that email, and also you can check on your forms today will be published, telling you the instruction of next week assignment. This will be a very short. It's basically you're answering very quickly the 3 questions that I'm going to write, and you tell me the group, and you tell me what part, what industry you're going to work on it, which company, for example, you're going to analyze.
We can take any company for final project.
Feel free.
Okay.
Service, products, small store, big store, you name it. Is just, I want you to understand the details of operation in supply chain management.
Okay, how they work, how we research it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And later on, if you guys are doing really well, I will add the software selection, but I don't think I'm going to add any software selection to it, although it's a very important to understand how you do the software selection, because this will give you an extra kick in the market. Because if you can, go and evaluate a software, how wonderful is working with the company, or how bad, you will be noticed in no time at work. You know what I mean? And you get promoted in no time, by the way. So I will also, if we have time during the coming classes, I also will show you how you do the process of selecting a software for supply chain management operation, and how you go on and do this process of it. It's a process and procedures that you need to have it an extra on your CV to show that you not only understand how to use the application, you're also able to select an application, and that's a very eye-opening for any manager or any owner.
Professor?
Yes.
We have to give the answers of our 3 questions that you told to us in assignment part 1, and in a second part we have to make a project about a manufacturer company or a service.
Yes, and also